Hello! Thank you for watching this video. My name is Sailer-Haugland and this is C++ Lesson 5, Booleans. This lesson will be aired live on YouTube on June 26th at 12 p.m. Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be learning about Booleans and some mathematical operators that you commonly know in a mathematics class, and then some other forms of mathematical operators that are essential in C++ programming and programming in general. So first, I want to open up my CS1 file as normal, and then I want to create a file called bool.cpp, and let's do the normal. Top two lines include iostream using namespace std, and then let's create a main function. A Boolean is a variable type that we learned about in the variables lesson. It's either a true or false statement. It can hold the value of true or the value of false. In an advanced programming language, we tend to signify true with the value of 1 and false with the value of 0. So if you get into more complex programming languages, you might see someone using binary code. Just know that them using binary code means that number 1 is true and number 0 is false. The number 0 is false and the number 1 is true. But we're going to be using true and false. I'm gonna create a Boolean called statement, and I'm going to set it to true. Let's see what this prints. One, as we saw before, when we see out a true, it prints a 1. Now let's change it to false. And predict what should come out. Did you predict a 0? You would be correct. But now I want to share with you some mathematical operators that we didn't talk about in the previous video. So we can use things like greater than or less than signs as normal. So if I were to see out this statement, 9 greater than 0, it would print out a 1, signifying that it's true. But if I were to see out this statement, sorry, 9 is less than 0, it would print out a false. let's create a variable of x and assign it to 10. Then let's say see out the following. X is less than or equal to 9. This means that the value of x should be less than or equal to 9. And if it is, it'll see out a 1. If it isn't, it'll see out a 0. We should tell from this that it's going to see out a 0. Oops. Semicolons are important, guys. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. You want to parenthesize your statements. Otherwise, they aren't gonna know what you're talking about when you're giving out a Boolean statement, such as that. And look, it's counted as 0. But what if we said 10? X is greater than or equal to 10. Predict what it's going to see out here. 1, because it's true. And the same happens with the less than sign as well. So if I were to say x is less than or equal to 10, greater than, I apologize, greater than, it would see out a 1. I want this to see out a 0 though. So let's change this to the value of 9. And it see out as a 0. Perfect. There were 2 more that aren't usually talked about in mathematics. And it's is equal to and is not equal to. Let's look at is equal to. Is equal to is different from an assignment. Is equal to say something is equal to something as a condition of true and false, you need to have 2 equal signs. If you have 1 equal sign, it will simply assign the value of 10 to x. But if you put an equal sign, 2 equal signs next to each other, it's a Boolean statement. This was probably something very confusing when we introduced variables. But in fact, if you're using an equal statement as a condition, such as is x equal to 10, you use 2 equal statements, not 1. We should see that this see out a 0. That is correct. Let's go back into the program and type 10. And we should get a 1. The final Boolean statement that exists is the not equal to statement. This is saying that x can be any integer except for 10 to make this condition true. Let's run this test and see what it see out. it should cout a 0 because x is 10, and we see that it couts a 0. Now let's put a random digit. Now this should cout a 1 because the integer x, the variable x, does not have a value of 10. And yes, it couts a 1. However, you're not going to be couting actual Boolean statements. I'm going to teach you your first Boolean statement today. And that statement is an if statement. Here's the structure of it. If such condition exists, let's say x is greater than 10. If such exists, then proceed with the following. If not, don't do it. So I'm going to cout x is less than 10. And we should get absolutely nothing because x is not less than 10. But what if I change this to 0? Should I get x is less than 10? Let's find out. And it seems here like we did get a statement that's saying x is less than 10. Now this isn't because the value of x is actually less than 10. This is because I put this barrier here to check to see if the value of x is less than 10. If it is less than 10, then I'm going to cout this statement. If it's not, it won't cout it. Let's do one more, and I want to do an equals one. I want to show you what can happen if you put one equal sign or an assignment sign, let's call it, in for a Boolean statement. We get an error. It says use double equal signs to turn this assignment into an equality comparison. So we're comparing it rather than assigning. We're supposed to compare it rather than assigning it, and we are assigning it. I want to do x is not 10. So I'm going to change the statement so that it can make sense to say x is not 10. And we get this statement not because x is literally not 10. It's because this statement is true. In an if statement, if something is true, that means that the body of that if statement will be executed. If the statement is false, the body of the if statement will not be executed. So let's assume x is 10. Now, let's see what we get. We get absolutely nothing because x is not 10. X is 10. I apologize. It is because x is 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. In the next video, I'm going to show you more advanced ways of handling conditions and also handling Booleans, because there's a lot more that we can work with rather than just an if statement. I'll be teaching you some statements like else statements and if-else statements. But in the meantime, go down to the description to see a challenge to challenge you in working with if statements and also working with Booleans. The more you're able to practice these things, the better coder you will be. That is all for this video today. If you at all need help with anything I have taught so far in the course, please leave a comment down below or contact me via one of my social media accounts that are linked down below. And with that, thank you for watching and have a great day.